from Vincent after he had listened to Quinn trying to figure out what was happening to Owen. Quinn honestly didn't understand why the world leader was currently in the state that he was in. In the past when his own red aura had entered someone else's such as Leo, it had immediately infected them, so he couldn't figure out why it didn't happen in this case. I'm sorry, but can we skip the lecture part and get to the you helping me figure out the answer part? Quinn hurried Vincent along. Time is a bit of the essence, I think. Regular vampires can't just turn someone by biting them, or injecting their blood into their body. Remember when you first bit Layla? She didn't turn because of it, now did she? So just because a regular vampire struck Owen, and part of his blood is inside Owen doesn't mean he will necessarily turn. Still, at least in this case the process has already been initiated. Just as you need to complete the ritual to turn someone, the same thing needs to be done here. Quinn understood what Vincent was saying, but that led to just more questions. Why attack Owen just when the battle was concluded? Sure, he had been weakened, but there were so many that had him surrounded. It had always been impossible to turn Owen in the short time before someone would have intervened, even if it hadn't been Oscar. Was the vampire prepared to sacrifice himself from the start? Did he pay with his life so someone else could finish what he started? Quinn wondered. So can you do anything to help me, or did you just get my hopes up so you could rub my C.H.E.S.T? Owen questioned, since Quinn had been quiet for an awkwardly long time with his hand placed on his chest. Yeah sorry, just give me a few moments. Quinn apologized, as he closed his eyes again. Thinking back, there was a time when the red aura energy had entered Chris and he had been able to get rid of it before it had taken over his body. When teaching the kids at the school how to use chi, he was also able to control the red energy, so perhaps, Quinn was also able to remove the energy from Owen at this moment, allowing his body to heal again. Being careful with the task, Quinn raised his other hand and now both were placed on Owen's B.A.R.E.C.H.E.S.T. The robes were moved to the side to make it easier for Quinn to feel and control energy when there was skin-to-skin contact. How fortunate that you made everyone leave the room. If anyone were to see us like that, we would probably make many BL fans quite happy. Owen joked nervously. What the hell is BL? Quinn wondered. I kinda need to concentrate on this. Quinn replied with an awkward look. He might be unaware of what the abbreviation stood for, but judging from the tone it was nothing he would enjoy. Seeing that Quinn was serious and seemed to have a way to potentially help him, Owen immediately shut up and closed his eyes as well. There was a dull pain that was constantly around his chest. He could feel it, especially when the healer tried to do something about it. No matter what method they had tried, the pain had remained. And yet he could suddenly feel the energy moving. Quinn, you can actually do something about this. Owen was flabbergasted. Just where did you learn how to do that when even the professionals were unable to help me? At first it was just a little painful, as if someone was poking him with a needle, but soon enough it felt as if someone had stuck their B.A.R.E. hand inside his body. Then the pain worsened and if he didn't know any better he would have sworn that Quinn was ripping out his flesh. Owen gritted his teeth during the procedure, doing his best to fight through the pain. He trusted the cursed faction leader was not just torturing him for fun and that it would help him, so he did his best to endure. The family still needs me, Owen repeated like a mantra. Arghhh. Eventually he couldn't take it anymore. It might have been different if he had been in peak condition, but he had barely recuperated. Sir, is everything okay in there? Hermes shouted from the other side of the door, ready to burst in at any second. Don't you dare come in, or I'll shock you myself. Owen shouted back, feeling that whatever Quinn was doing, was working. He grabbed the pillow behind him and bit onto it, to muffle his cries, worried that it might break the other's concentration. Owen was huffing and panting, covered in sweat but after what had felt like an eternity to him the pain was subsiding. Looking down, Quinn's hands left Owen's C.H.E.S.T and now a red aura could be seen spiraling around floating. Quinn just chucked it to the side, and it splattered on the floor like blood. Throughout the procedure Quinn had felt like a surgeon performing surgery and he was relieved it was successful. I think if you get someone to heal your heart now, that they might be able to do something about it. Once you recover you should also be able to use your powers again, Quinn said. Owen wasn't completely out of the woods yet, his body was still weak, and he felt like he was part machine, but he could tell that Quinn wasn't lying. Doing his best to move the bed sheets and get out of his bed, he bowed down to Quinn. He slowly placed his knees on the ground and placed his head on the floor. I owe you so much, Quinn. The first time I met you I knew you were special but I never imagined you would ever save my life in such a manner. You not only saved my people, but you also saved me. If there is anything I can do for you, just ask and I shall see it done at a moment's notice. Owen promised, still keeping his head on the floor. Please get up, Quinn quickly requested. He didn't need to be a doctor to know that Owen should remain in bed for the foreseeable future. He even helped him off the ground and as he carefully pulled him up Quinn inserted some of his chi energy inside of Owen, to make him feel better and stronger. You are just full of all sorts of tricks aren't you? Owen mentioned, noticing the slight change in his condition. I'm very tempted to ask you about your methods and about the person attacking me, but if you wish to not tell me I'll understand. Alas, sharing the fact that there was a secret race of vampires out there and that they had attacked him, seemingly so that they could convert or at least control him, Quinn didn't really consider this to be the best time to tell the others all of that. Even if it was, he needed to speak with Sam over the best way to reveal this information, so they didn't get chucked in the middle of the mess they were already in. About that favor. Quinn deliberately changed the subject to avoid the question. I happen to be in need of some crystals. Do you think you could supply me with 2 demigod tier crystals? It doesn't matter what type. He knew how rare demigod crystals were, and not even the Greylash family had a demon tier crystal, so he was unsure whether Owen could complete the request. Done. Owen said, you will have them before you leave my home. But that can't be all, or do you wish to say that my life is only worth 2 such crystals? No, I still owe you. Consider the crystals are a gift for your faction. This was a surprising outcome that Quinn had never expected. Now the cursed faction was in possession of 1 demon tier crystals and 4 demigod tiers. The reason why Quinn had asked this was to improve his own equipment. There was a chance that only 2 crystals would need to be used on Ino, and now the rest could be turned into equipment. Once the 2 of them were done, the others waiting outside were able to enter once again. All of the guards, Hermes, and doctors rushed into the room. The subordinate could instantly see the color had returned to Owen's face. What happened? Hermes asked, noticing the pillow that looked as if a dog had chewed through it. Never mind that, just get those healers in here and let them try healing me once more, Owen ordered. The best healers that the Greylash faction owned were called and everyone was waiting for their arrival. It looks like things have turned out better than you thought, Sam whispered over to Quinn, while they waited for the result of the healing. Yeah, but things like this might keep happening if we don't decide what to do next, Quinn replied. A total of 4 different healers affiliated with the Greylash family in some way entered the room, and they immediately went to Owen's bedside. One of them was quite the old man, who rubbed his hands together, before he was ready to activate his ability. He reached out his hand, but before he could touch the world leader, someone grabbed them mid-air, and started to squeeze them quite tightly. What do you think you're doing, young man? The old man cried out in pain, looking at none other than Quinn. You sure have guts showing up here. Do you honestly think I wouldn't notice? Quinn answered and increased the pressure. The guards were getting ready to defend the healer, while the others had moved away, but Quinn quickly grabbed the other hand as it started to move. Oh no, I won't allow you to kill yourself too. You will have to answer my questions, Quinn said. The rest of you can continue doing what you are doing. I'm going to speak to this one in private. A shadow soon opened up, and Quinn and the healer disappeared. What the hell just happened? Hermes asked, confused. It looks like Quinn has taken care of yet another traitor. Chapter 1091, A Struggle Within. Of course, when Quinn and the mysterious old healer had disappeared, they hadn't actually vanished. Instead they had both appeared inside of the shadow lock. Quinn didn't want any spectators for what he was going to do next, otherwise he was afraid that it would just make things more complicated. He still held on to the man's arms, preventing him from taking his own life. After some initial confusion about how and where they had landed, the man concentrated on trying to free himself by attempting to kick Quinn off. However, the latter noticed his hostage's intention and made the first move by hitting the other's shin, breaking the bone immediately. The force was strong enough that his leg had banged into the other, dealing some excruciating pain. It would be for the best if you didn't move, Quinn instructed the man, whose eyes started to glow red. There was no point pretending to be a healer when it was just the 2 of them, so he was revealing his true colors. Let go of me, the vampire demanded, looking into Quinn's eyes, yet a few seconds later the smile that had appeared on his face was gone, since nothing had happened at all. Oh, are you surprised? Quinn questioned Inimus.e.m.e.nt, before his eyes started to glow red as well. Was this what you were trying to do, Neil? He used the influence skill, and the vampire who had tried to get to Owen immediately went down on his knees, despite his injury, while his hands were still being held up. You're a vampire as well? But how can that be? Your smell is that of a human. The old man spoke in confusion. You're right, this smell is the exact reason why I was able to spot you before you could spot me, Quinn explained. Before leaving the cursed ship to head to Owen, this was the favor he had asked Logan about. Back when they had headed to the vampire world, Logan had been able to create a smell that had managed to make the ones who had not been turned smell like vampires. If a fragrance could be made that made one smell like vampires, then surely Logan should be able to create one that could do the opposite as well, Quinn theorized, and his friend hadn't disappointed him. It hadn't taken the inventor long to mix up such a request, so before coming over, Quinn and Sam had both sprayed themselves to mask themselves as humans. Since they knew that vampires appeared to be working within many different locations, they thought it best to hide themselves and allow the vampires to come out on their own. After Vincent told him that another vampire would be able to complete the ritual to turn Owen, Quinn had figured out their plan. With so many traitors showing up, it wasn't that surprising anymore that another would be working in the Greylash family. However, there was one confusing thing about it all, and that was the fact that none of the vampires had been able to recognize who Quinn was so far. Any vampire from the vampire world would know him as one of the leaders, yet these vampire spies didn't. Quinn could only assume that this meant they were on Jim's side. I guess my presence in the human world is only as one of the world leaders, and Jim doesn't have as much insider information about the vampires as he thought. Otherwise he should have been able to put one and one together to know